Have you ever asked a question in your classroom and noticed that only 2 or 3 students raise their hands? The same students answer every time, while others remain quiet. But what if there was a simple teaching strategy that could encourage almost every student to think, talk, and participate? Today, we're going to explore a very simple but powerful classroom strategy called Think, Pair, Share. Welcome back to Learn with SBK, where we explore practical teaching strategies and ideas that can make classroom learning more engaging and effective. So let's understand what Think, Pair, Share actually means and how you can use it in your classroom. Think, Pair, Share is a cooperative learning strategy developed by Frank Lyman. The idea is very simple. Instead of asking a question and immediately asking one student for the answer, the teacher gives every student some time to think, then allows them to discuss their ideas with a partner, and finally asks them to share their ideas with the class. That's why it is called Think, Pair, Share. Let's look at these 3 steps one by one. First comes Think. The teacher asks a meaningful question or gives students a problem to solve. But instead of immediately asking for answers, give students some quiet thinking time. For example, imagine you are teaching science and you ask, "Why do plants need sunlight?" Instead of saying, "Who knows the answer?" and choosing the first student who raises a hand, simply say, "Take 30 seconds and think about your answer." You can also write down a few words. This small pause is very important. It gives every student an opportunity to process the question before speaking. And remember, not every student thinks at the same speed. Some students need a little more time to organize their thoughts. Now comes the second step, Pair. Ask students to turn to a partner and discuss their ideas. You might say, "Now turn to the person sitting next to you and discuss your answer." Students can compare their ideas, explain their thinking, and even change or improve their answers after listening to their partner. For example, one student might say, "I think plants need sunlight because they use sunlight to make their food." The partner might add, "Yes, and this process is called photosynthesis." Now both students are learning from each other, and the teacher doesn't have to do all the talking. Finally, we have Share. Now invite students to share what they discussed with the class. You can ask, "Who would like to share what you and your partner discussed?" You can invite individual students, different pairs, or even ask several pairs to share different ideas. And here's an important point. The purpose isn't simply to find the one correct answer. The purpose is to allow students to explain their thinking and learn from different perspectives. So why should teachers use this strategy? Because it increases student participation. In a traditional question and answer approach, perhaps only 3 or 4 students answer. But with Think, Pair, Share, everyone gets a chance to think and everyone gets a chance to talk. It also helps students develop important skills such as communication, listening, critical thinking, confidence, and collaboration. It can be especially helpful for students who are shy or hesitant to speak in front of the whole class. Speaking to one partner first feels much less stressful than immediately speaking in front of 30 students. Let's take another example. Imagine you're teaching English and your question is, "What makes a good leader?" First, give students 1 minute to think and write down 2 or 3 ideas. Then ask them to discuss their ideas with a partner. Maybe one student says, "A good leader should be a good listener." The partner says, "I agree, and I think a good leader should also be responsible." Now ask different pairs to share their ideas with the class. Suddenly, you have a classroom full of ideas rather than just one student giving an answer. That's the power of Think, Pair, Share. Here are a few simple tips to make Think, Pair, Share more effective. First, ask open-ended questions that require students to think, rather than questions that can be answered with just yes or no. Second, give students enough thinking time, Don't rush this stage. Third, make sure every student participates during the pair stage. And fourth, change partners from time to time, so students get opportunities to communicate with different classmates. You can also ask students to write their ideas before they discuss them. This is especially useful when working with younger learners. One common mistake teachers make is moving too quickly from think to share. Remember, the thinking time is an important part of the strategy. Another mistake is always asking the same confident students to share. Try to create opportunities for different students to participate. You can even say, "I may ask anyone to share, so make sure you are ready." This encourages everyone to stay engaged. It is a simple strategy, but when used effectively, it can transform a passive classroom into a more active, collaborative, and student-centered learning environment. So the next time you ask your students a question, don't immediately ask, "Who knows the answer?" Instead, try. Think about it, discuss it with your partner, and then let's share. You may be surprised by how many more students become involved. If you found this teaching strategy useful, don't forget to like this video, share it with other teachers, and subscribe to Learn with SBK for more practical teaching strategies and educational ideas. Thank you for watching, and keep learning, keep teaching, and keep inspiring. See you in the next video.